I see the circle. I see the
Welcome everyone to Talk to Me About, the Guilty Gear podcast where we talk about your faves and why you love them. I'm your host, Dee. Hi. Here after many technical difficulties, which is very fitting for the character that we're talking about today, or characters, which is, Delilah and Bedman, two of my absolute favorites. And I'm here with my co-host again, Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hello.
We made it. I'm so happy we finally get to do my face claim.
I know, it was a very long
sweetest little guy.
trek through the alphabet to get here, but we finally made it. Delilah Friday.
Happy Delilah Friday.
I'm so sorry for people who are gonna have to wait for the Kai episode.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, we have a lot of prominent characters at the tail end of the alphabet
You would not
there.
believe people that texted me and were like, hey, when you do Testament, get me on for Testament. And I'm like, ooh, well, Testament's kind
There's
of one
a
of the
lot of
last
demand.
characters. But yeah, we're here today with three extreme Delilah lovers who I think are very cool and awesome parts of the community. So let's start off with a person I really like, Nate. Hi, Nate.
Hi.
Nate, you're a super awesome Delilah artist, aren't you? Are you not? And for the bed sibs.
I try.
Your art is super appreciated. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Danny. Hi, Danny.
Hello. Yeah. I forgot. What do we do in these? Okay,
Why do you love this
she,
sweet?
he pronouns, and, I like the little guy and the other little guy next to it.
The first little guy being the bed.
Shout out to Dice Gate. This DLC was a 2-in-1 deal. I got two guys for my $8, I think it was.
Very economical.
Nice deal.
They're $4 each.
I forgot, I just bought the pass, so...
Delilah's $1, the bed is $7 because it's so heavy.
It's by weight. Getting Guilty Gear characters by the pound.
And last but not least, Delilah herself. Hi, Delilah.
Hello, hi, I'm Delilah, you can see on Twitter. Ex-Strive player, I guess. It wasn't big ranking these days, but I still have the character, not myself. But, yeah.
I love the phrase ex-Strive player, like this was a war and you had to get through it.
So funny.
With how people are on Twitter, it could be.
It's true, it's true.
Yeah.
So, the big question for you three. Why do you love Delilah Neumann?
Oh boy.
Oh boy, who is
Do we go in order of the introductions? So
Whatever
we
you
start
guys feel
with
like.
Nate?
We're here to chill out. I guess, Nate, if you want to go first, you can.
Nate, I choose
Okay.
you.
Okay. I'll go first. Well, I knew Bedman and Delilah since Strive. Like, I got into Strive when they were just releasing, I think. And at first it was like a very okay character. Like, I didn't look too into it, but I didn't play any fighting games before, so this is also my first fighting game. And I don't know.
What were the bed sibs? What got you into fighting games?
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
Lovely.
Genuinely, I didn't think like Bedman and Delilah had that kind of power, so it makes me really, really happy.
See,
Well,
it always takes one character, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's over.
True.
Literally, me with Tekken right now. I am a Tekken hater, or at least I was. But then I saw that they had one non-binary character, Leo, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
well, I
yeah,
guess I'm a Tekken fan now, and I guess I like it now.
I didn't like fighting games. I didn't like them. And now I do. And it's all their fault. Their fault.
It's super interesting. A lot of people on Twitter will be like, "Oh, Bedman was kind of a wasted slot," or "Oh, Bedman isn't popular or played."
Yeah, I hate that.
It's first of all they're wrong and stupid, but second of all, the developers' backyard came out and they said, "Oh yeah, Delilah and Bedman were responsible for the most amount of people joining
I
Stride,
saw that.
even after Bridget," which is so weird to me.
So
but
I
crazy.
actually got really
It's
happy.
like- They were like, I saw people like, oh, who asked for Bedman? Me. I was asking. I was like,
Bedman.
every day. I was like
I'm
wishing
glad you did.
upon the stars. Please
Delilah was my
add
number
Bedman
one
and
most wanted
Delilah.
character, so I'm so happy.
Yeah. It was really funny.
It was so interesting too because you got fighting game old heads like Maximilian Dude and other people like that were like, who the hell wants these characters and why don't we have like Bridget and Johnny and Elfel and all the cool characters that people played? And it's like, and he even said like, oh well, this season pass they're only doing story characters, so it's only this is Daisuke's rules and he's the one that gets to decide. But you know what? That's why I'm in this series, baby. I fucking
yeah.
love going for story first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the rest of you guys? Was it also the fighting game, like the gameplay style, or was it like just how she is, or Bedman?
I guess I'll do a mix, right? So I used to play Bedman back in Xrd. I played Bedman and Raven. Raven never catch that one strive. Maybe she'll bring me back. Maybe. But,
God, I want Raven so
no,
much.
Raven is so cool. But that was not the time for Raven. But yeah, I played Bedman in Xrd. Then I started playing Shrine before Bedman got announced, right? At that time I was playing Nago EP. That was cool. Then they announced Bedman, and I was like, oh, shit, I got my character. And yeah, at first it was like, oh, like I like for the gameplay mostly, but then I saw the story mode and I saw like Delilah's character more like in depth, and it's like, oh yeah, awesome, I like that.
Yeah, I think like Bedman is part of a unique brand of characters for me, where it's like I've never seen a character so radically changed between iterations like this. And I don't think I could have, even if you told me to think of it. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna be playing as a guy from the last game, except he's dead, and all of his weapons are being used by his sister, and his sister's not even fighting. And it's like, that's just such a cool concept.
Oh yeah.
I was playing today Xrd with a friend, and we were playing both Bedman, and we were all the time like, where's Delilah? Where is she? Like, I don't know, it was funny.
Where's the Glorbo?
What's the game?
Where's the girl? Where is she?
How am I supposed to enjoy my drink without? Sorry, how am I supposed to enjoy this Guilty Gear without my Delilah?
Gives me Delilah.
For me, I mean, I won't tell the full story. I've been into fighting games casually like years, but never been good. But the thing is, I got through Bedman, right? And his whole lore. Because, like, Bedman always came off, like, as an autistic character, so he already, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then when they tease Delilah, they're like, oh, she's bad at social... Okay. You too. Come here to my
you bring up
character
this-
collection.
You're mine now, forever.
You're mine.
Yeah.
Something I think you bring up a really cool point, and it's that like, obviously, I think it's kind of obvious to me that like Romeo F. Newman is extremely autistic
Oh no,
coded,
definitely.
and it's really cool how both he and his sister both are like autistic like that, and that like they both take it in radically different directions. Where Delilah is kind of like non-verbal. And, and also kind of struggles picking up social cues, where she's asking Baiken, like, oh, why can't you just let me kill this guy with you, instead of, like, realizing, hey, that's kind of a weird thing to say out loud.
Yeah.
And you have, like, Bedman, who I think needs no introduction, where it's just like, oh, he is just info dumping constantly.
Yeah, it's a I also wanted to point it out because on her animations, right? The way she walks, the way she's holding her own hands, self-pacifying the whole time, and like how even in story mode she walks with her arms separated. I feel like kind of projecting, but it does feel like she's trying to avoid feeling her clothes on her self.
Oh my god, I feel that same way, where if I get like the wrong sensation on my sweater or my clothes or something, I'm just like pinching at it like all the time, and it's like...
Yeah, so she's just constantly, okay, if I have my hands like a penguin, I'll avoid it.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those unconscious things you can like put into animating a character like that I really like. Okay, sorry, you can continue.
I hadn't realized it. I think I subconsciously knew it when I watched story mode, but I hadn't really put it to mind until I think someone today, maybe it was even you, like messaged me on Twitter like, oh yeah, Delilah walks around with her arms completely out.
Yeah,
I saw that it was under your tweet asking for like what do people think. I read it so I could take more notes.
Very based on
It's true, like, she has very particular mannerisms, which I think is... God, she's so cool! Like, for me personally, it's like, how often do you get girl characters that are like this at all? Like...
Yeah, no, that was another thing.
There's very few.
Yeah, like, while creepy little girl certainly is an existent horror trope that you see in a few places, I don't think it's ever really been depicted with as much nuance, even as something like, you know, we get from Delilah in another story, which is why I'm so grateful for her character. But just to loop back really quickly, if I could address kind of what pulled me into liking Delilah other than, you know, dating D, I think it would have to be, so like, you know, just general Guilty Gear history. I was probably initially drawn in by how insane the lore was and how cool the character designs were. And I think I spoke about it a little bit in the Bedman podcast, but, you know, he really stood out to me from among the other cast members because, you know, when we have these other very anime-looking characters, having a guy who's fighting you while asleep chained to a bed is very, you know, stand out. And especially to me as someone who, you know, in my adolescence really liked very, like, you know, classic horror stuff and was into that whole sort of macabre aesthetic, goth
I thought you were
adjacent.
gonna say, as someone that was very into Komaeda Nagito.
Well, that also definitely,
shit.
definitely a contributing factor into my appreciation of Romeo F. Newman. But no, just to like see that represented in a place that I didn't expect it, because like while Guilty Gear definitely has a lot of those horrorcore themes, and I think that's something that Daisuke really loves to do because it's kind of adjacent to metal. I think Romeo was a very different take on that, and one that was super compelling to me as someone who grew up like watching Nightmare Before Christmas on VHS on loop, right? So it was really cool then to see Delilah as an iteration on what we got with Bedman, where she's not necessarily like overtly threatening. You know, she's a little bit more rounded, but still very dour, but also kind of like a kind girl. And I think to me it plays a lot with what Guilty Gear is fundamentally about everyone being human, whether they are willing to accept it about themselves or not, and how a lot of the time, well, we can make these superficial impressions of people based on how they look, but there's a lot more to it than that, and everyone has, like, you know, an incredible amount of depth if you're willing to look just below the surface, because Delilah still has a lot of those design motifs from Bedman. Obviously, she has her little funny arrow, but it's up because she's nice. She has, like, the sunken-in eyes. She has, like, the almost, like, Frankenstein-esque, maybe like Igor lab coat, but she's got, you know, a cute girly little ribbon, and she's got her sweet cute little platform shoes, and she's got like a bit more of a rounded collar and rounded hair to contrast with Bedman's sort of sharper angles. So I don't know, I just thought that was really sweet and cute to depict someone who reminded me a lot of myself when I was young, being somebody that like is into horror stuff, but, you know, still kind of nice, you know. I'm just a little guy, and I think that's really cute to see represented with
you just
Delilah.
vibe with it. You don't have to be a murderer.
Yeah.
No, yo.
But I.
And I think too, like you bring it up, like I think just how they play in game really encompasses how the horror motif is carried in both their designs too, where it's like, this is a machine that is breaking apart, and it's very scary looking, and there's flesh, and there's teeth, and there's broken parts, and the gameplay is all about completely swallowing you up in the corner, right? And just filling the screen up with bullshit, and just not knowing how this like character is gonna move around with the 8-way dash, and how to like with 2H, and all these different things that just cover up the screen. And it's like it's scary when Bedman gets going, and I think that's really encompassed by how Bedman looks and how Delilah looks, where it's like she is scared of the bed itself, and it's like that's how I feel fighting Bedman, you know?
No, that is a really astute observation. It does kind of have that horror movie style of progression to the way you actually play the character, because Bedman starts up kind of slow and methodical. There's not much you really have to worry about, but you drift closer and closer into the corner, and there's that buildup of tension, like, oh my god, I have to block all of this, like all of this is happening, and it's pretty cool. It feels like the climax of like a slasher movie. It's like, oh, there's the monster doing crazy stuff now.
I think it helps out too when I think about Delilah, and she's like not anxious, but she's so overwhelmed by the world, and I think that's just represented by like, hey, her own personal monster is overwhelming the opponent, and she's just watching all this destruction, and that's how she feels with her grief and stuff. And it's like that's such fun like meta text. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Or what do you call ludo narrative?
Yeah, we get into like the gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Delilah was gonna talk.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with the same point, right?
So we get into the gameplay of them, right?
Yeah,
you describe
absolutely.
pretty much the Bedman part, which he's overwhelming. He uses like memories and dreams, and then you have Bedman ? Right? Who can't do that stuff anymore. And I think it's like a... See, in Strive, they changed a lot of the characters, they revamp a lot of the play styles, and I think using like the revamped play style to tell the story more is like a really cool thing, because like
There's
a lot
so
of
much
his...
too, like Bedman can't do the same tasks that he once could. Like, like he can't send out his head anymore and then teleport to it. He can't do his like little like dash forward hut.
Yeah, it just explodes.
Stuff.
It just explodes before he can do it.
And I think how do you feel? This is, I guess, a question for everyone or people that play him. How do you guys feel about the translation of Deja Vu to the error state stuff? Because I have heard from both Bedman lovers that it was a good change and a bad change, and that it did carry over, and that it didn't carry over what made Bedman cool in Xrd. And I just want to hear like what you guys have to say about it.
I am definitely on the side that the transition was very good. It's really well done. I used to spend as fuck on music, and when I first picked them up like in Strive, it felt really natural. So like, she's pretty successful in that regard, and also I think that Strive and is more fun than Xrd to me. But that just me.
Sorry, I felt so cool for doing a little corner combo there. I didn't think I could do that.
I played Bedman in Xrd. He was one of my mains because there was no ABBA, and there's still no ABBA. But
don't worry, she'll get in.
Hopefully.
She was number one. She's getting in. I promise. Oh, whoops! I also
something for another day, probably, if she gets revealed one. But
hold on, wait a second, if I can just for a quick second. I wonder what the relationship is between two horror characters based off Frankenstein that have big metal friends that they have and are creepy looking. I wonder what the connection there is between liking Delilah and liking ABBA.
Yeah.
I wonder.
And then you add Faust for like the silliness.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
and it's like a
probably,
trifecta.
Yeah, so many different Frankensteins in Guilty Gear.
Well, it was a good book. I liked reading it in high school.
But yeah, I really like the transition, just because like Strive characters are not the same. So I really like how they adapted the whole Romeo's dead. It can't deja vu anymore, right? So it does errors, and instead of like overwhelming you with icons on the screen, it overwhelms you with like the idea of a second attack is coming automatically, and you can like play with the delays. I think that's like super fun playstyle. I know he's not. I haven't seen it, but I know he's not like super OP or anything.
No,
it's not.
I think Bedman is like the pros say bottom 3, but every time like I think Chaos performs pretty well with Bedman, but I think also Chaos has dropped Bedman for Elfelt, so
it's psychological warfare.
I played this character since season 2. I got the entire like fucking bounces to this character, and season 2 he was just straight up the worst character in the game. He was so bad. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just slow buttons, couldn't get like mechanic running, because I think the problem with Bedman from a kit standpoint is that Bedman is very win more, which is why I think I'm glad that they made the changes where it's like, oh, you can keep error state post wall break. That was really annoying. I did not like that. That you just lose it for basically doing what your character wants to do already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was annoying.
That was like my number one.
Making 2S better. If Bedman were to get buffed, how would you want Bedman to get buffed? Or do you think Bedman is perfectly fine as is, and it's just those damn top tiers that should go down a notch?
I actually think it's fine. Like, I don't play much. I play like I don't know for I don't play like professionally. I don't know how to say that, but I think it's not.
The casual perspective is just as important as the pro perspective, you know?
Yeah. Well, I see it's fine. And going back to the wait, I want to get here. Going back to the gameplay perspective, I think it's nice how they changed from Deja Vu to Eros, because Romeo is not there anymore, so I don't know. And I really like Eros. Like, I like how they sound, how the visuals. I think they are so good. I like looking Eros. Yeah, the sounds.
No, the fucking sounds are amazing. Like,
yeah, even from like Xrd.
I saw a video recently that was like, oh, here's every character getting hit in Heavenly Potemkin Buster, and all their silly, kooky little voice lines, and then it gets to Bedman, and it's just like the most monstrous growl and like roar I've heard in my life, mixed up with mechanical gears, and I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah, I haven't seen if anyone has extracted the sounds the bed makes itself. Because I do want to take a listen to that from like a sound design perspective.
Listen, all I say is that the fucking Air 6E sounds are like if someone plays it sounds in the mic. It's fucking it's just like so fast.
It's
yeah,
so
and you
scary
can hear
to me
like
too
a
when...
voice as it gets like closer.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to hear.
The bio for Bedman says, "Oh yeah, no, this is just the robot's own voice, and it's just it's just speaking, and haha, that's just a silly little voice." Like, god damn, that's scary.
Yeah, that is very scary.
See, it has a voice, it has a brain, it needs to be alive. I think it has a brain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a theory territory.
If I can stray away from gameplay for a tiny bit, how do you guys feel about the flush?
I kind of like, obviously I think it's a great send up to the horrorcore elements that have been present since like the original Bedman, right? And I also appreciate it, which I'm choosing to interpret this way, it could be entirely wrong, is like maybe kind of an Evangelion body horror angle, which is something that I feel like Daisuke likes to do in a lot of his creature designs, but that we hadn't really seen for a lot of main playable characters in a minute. So I think having it represented through Bedman, and especially like specifically body horror too, I think is so thematically resonant. Because something that I was talking about a while back is, you know, how a lot of the core themes, at least to me, the through line between like, you know, Bedman and Delilah are like the notions of humanization and agency. And I think that was something that Dee was talking about too, but if you guys had more to say before I went on a longer diatribe.
Boy, for me it's a bit of a callback to the Crow episode, actually.
Yeah.
Theory.
Yeah.
It's like, in Guilty Gear technology doesn't work the same, so I've always also thought that the robot characters have to have biological elements to actually work. And I think it ties to my little theory, right? That Romeo had half of his. I know it's like it's more headcanon, okay, but Romeo had half of his brain in the robot, which is the half that controlled motor systems and stuff. And the other half that held memories, speech patterns, and all that stuff was on Romeo. So when he died, I headcanon that the bed's kind of Romeo in that way, but it's only like movement-wise, and it can't hold memories for a long time. I think it said from the bio, right? So it doesn't have that part. And that's why the error 6E fails.
You guys want to hear something so cool? So obviously, lobotomy is a practice that is highly banned and not good. But when you lobotomize a brain and you put it back and you do that kind of surgery, first of all, it's messed up. But second of all, it damages the memory portions of your brain. So I think tying that to what the robot is pretty sound there.
Optimize it bed.
Well, it's not a dimension of garbage. But yeah,
that's why I think the whole error 6E thing happens. I mentioned it like the other time we attempted to record and everyone died. But the error 6E is like an overheat error on a washing machine, as far as I know, which is funny. You know, I love this washing machine. Yeah. But also, I think it's just entering a loop where it's like trying to find memories to activate deja vu. It fails and explodes.
I was hoping you'd bring that up again because I was going to say the way you described that I thought was like so cool and fun. Like that's such a great idea in a biomechanical, scary horror sense, right? Like it's a failure of code and also some muscle memory messing up.
With coding, isn't it that like with programs it'll just keep running, and that's what the failures are? Like because it can't seek a way out, so it just keeps running and then it overheats.
Looped until it overheats. Yeah. So I think that's one of my favorite aspects to theorize about regarding the bed itself.
It's nice.
And I do want to write something about that, but I'm not a huge writer, but I want to attempt it.
I'll try.
I think you totally should. It's super awesome.
Yeah.
And before people get anxious about this in my comments section or in this Discord call right now, I don't think it's wrong to talk about Bedman so much in an episode about Delilah and Bedman because I think they go so hand in hand, and Delilah is so much of what this robot is and how this robot is perceived, and that I think they are both equal characters with equal narrative weight in a lot of ways. So yeah, I think that's cool. But also, we will go back to talking about Delilah at some point too. I just think the meat stuff in the robot is just so fucking cool. I really like the robot.
So imagine my surprise hearing about the meat theory on the Crow episode while I was working. Holy shit, I was so excited.
Going back to what you said about talking too much about Bedman, it's just amazing. But I hate when people say like, you can say like Delilah's not the playable character. Like, I mean, she's there all the time. Like, of course she's gonna be included in talk about Bedman. I don't know. It's just a thing that makes me mad. The comment that said, do not separate them.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of arguments online recently, and hell, maybe we even saw the same argument where it was like, hey, stop putting so much emphasis on Delilah because Delilah is not a real character. She's just an avenue for other characters to develop.
I just ignored that. I don't want that.
I tried to ignore that as well, but...
I try, but it's hard.
We can get to her relationships later because that's a lot to talk about, I think.
Listen,
but I just think having a character be so dependent on other characters isn't a character flaw, I think. I think it's really interesting, and the fact that Delilah is so, like, she closed herself so much as a person that it makes other people reach out to her and do anything they can to help her. I saw a tweet once from Scruffy Turtles, and I talked about it last time before our recording cut out, that was like, when Delilah's her character model first got revealed in another story, the promo image, it was like, hey, looking at Delilah, I can completely understand why Romeo sacrificed everything for her. Like, she's so eepy. And I think, like, even just having the image of that and, like, liking that is so important and cool. Like, she is absolutely a character, and I like her a lot.
Yeah.
But
all I want
we can go back to whatever.
all I want to say real quick is adding on that. I'm not gonna take she's not a character to the character where I got my transition move from. I'm not taking that. Yeah.
Obligated to stand.
She's there too.
I'm just saying, if we can have an entire episode about Daryl and about Crow, then, like, Delilah is absolutely important, cool, and a valued
Speaking of
person in the cast.
characters who are affected a lot by how others interact with them, Crow is just Crow. It's only pieced together through dialogue with other people.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think there's a certain degree of richness that Daisuke injects into every character that he names, you know? Like, there's never going to be a case where there's just kind of somebody that's around to be exclusively a bit. I think there's always an element of, you know, his heart or his soul that's put into them, and I think that's still readily apparent with even Delilah, right? I was mentioning the whole agency and humanity thing a few minutes ago, and I just wanted to get onto that really quick so we could talk about Delilah specifically, and say that, like, that's a theme that's been present probably since Bedman, though, to branch off for a second, because, like, you know, obviously he's bound to the bed, and he's got, like, a certain duty that he's meant to uphold. Even though he's doing it in his own way, he feels kind of morally obligated to make sure he can guide Delilah through life, and that, you know, he has to adhere to what Ariels is telling him so that can work out, and he creates his absolute world and whatnot. But, you know, obviously this is sort of not a cold and hard fact.
No!
As seen from the fact that he kind of doesn't fully win in that regard. He does wind up dying for the cause. And also when you start reaching out to Delilah, you can see sort of how that mentality affected her, because I think, I believe it was Danny who had mentioned when last we did the podcast that, like, for the longest time when Delilah was still comatose, the only outside stimulation she had was just, like, Romeo trying to communicate with her telepathically. So you can kind of see how that bleeds into her character very clearly, where she wakes up and it's easy to see how she would become kind of misanthropic and a little bit hateful and perturbed by the notion of a broader world. And I feel like in that regard, like I was mentioning before, like, she's a good representation of just adolescence in general, because, you know, who among us couldn't say that when they were, like, a kid, or especially if you're like me and you were a bit of, like, a Chunibu thinking yourself really intelligent horror obsessed kid. Like, that this world is an evil one, it's out to get me, and it's a projection a little bit of that self-loathing and helplessness that you feel, because it's like there was nothing I could do about the circumstances that I was brought into this world with, but I just kind of have to make do. Like, oh, that's not right. Clearly it must be that, like, everyone is evil, everybody's out to get me. And I think in that way it's another great send-up to the thematics of Frankenstein that you see Daisuke pulling in for Bedman and Delilah, right? That notion of, like, this inherently kind of gentle person that just due to either some past traumas that they've experienced, or maybe just a complete naivety that they're like, well, this is a scary, rotten world, and I just want to be nice, but I can't be. I have to be dour and scary because that's what everything else is. So I think that's really, really fun and cool. And then kind of leads very organically into her relationship with Viken, because, you know, here we have two girls who view themselves as things. You know, they cease to be people. They're like, oh, I'm nothing but a weapon now. This is what I have to do, either to avenge someone.
Be a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't get the chance to be a person.
Okay.
I have to be a monster now. I'll become what this world is asking of me. And I think that again is a really great observation of
a mirror of the world.
Yeah.
Also, super quick, Nate, you're so good. I can't believe you were like, oh, I play casually. I'm not that good. Dude, you're so good.
I literally just, like, get, like, one friend to play with me, and we spend all the afternoons playing, and that's why I'm good. I only play bad, I don't play good.
Well, playing Bedman is kind of like playing, like, 5 different characters in one, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Playing Bedman is not playing Guilty Gear, it's playing Bedman.
It's playing
It's so
Bedman,
true.
yeah.
I see a lot of people being like, oh, Bedman is such a hard character. And for me, it was super easy to get into at the start because he was my first one, and the skills translate. But yeah, for people who are more used to regular characters on fighting games, it's harder to get in. And I think that's really funny because you just play a different game.
I think for me, playing Bedman and getting into Bedman was super difficult because I main Eno, and Eno's hover dash makes learning any other character so weird. Because where's my instant overhead? I thought I ordered my instant overhead right here.
That's me with like Bedman's
I think
with Bedman's area dash. Because I tried before then. I'm not sure it's there. I tried them in like Alpha when she came out. But I was like, that's my area dash. What do I do?
Yeah, I guess especially going from Bedman to Elfelt and it's just chain lollipop, Atho. Like, it's probably like, hey, I'm locked into one motion. What else can I do here? Rather than Bedman's, I'm gonna be moving all around.
Moving. You know, for a bed, it really has very funny movement.
But I think honestly, just like Bedman and Xrd, that really goes a long way to enhance the characterization, because I think it's very fun to have a character that, like, the whole like conceit of it is the notion of like what really makes something or someone human, and is it okay for someone to live as a person, and to have it be like so different from the rest of the cast. It's like, oh, what is this monster, right? I just thought that was like a little cute thing.
Yeah.
Ah shit, listen.
So Viken, am I right?
Yeah, baby.
I wanted to bring up super quick when Jay was talking about it earlier, and it's how Romeo treats being around Ariels, and Romeo is at Ariels' beck and call for everything, but he also doesn't think that he is. He thinks, oh, we're just collaborating, we're two equals, and this person is I'm just following her lead because we both, I'm gonna backstab her, she'll backstab me, except he doesn't exactly think that. He just thinks he's, naive. He thinks everything's gonna go well because that's what it was said out loud.
Because he has good intentions.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, like, Ariel's almost is sort of, like, motherly to him, but it betrayed him so heavily, and then you swap over Delilah. Delilah meets this woman who completely rejects her and is so unabashedly herself. Ariel's is constantly putting up a front and saying, I'm not the person that you think I am. No, I'm actually a good hope. I'm religious, I'm virtuous, just like you, Romeo F. Newman, so you can trust me. Meanwhile, you have Viken, who is just upfront, I'm a cold murderer, I am a lone wolf, I don't need anyone else, and Delilah immediately finds, like, kinship in that, and Viken
she's like, oh my god, that's just like me for real.
And to me it reads like, oh, Viken is the mother that Romeo wishes he had, and that Delilah is blessed to have, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah. I think it also really ties into the, like, thing of Guilty Gear of always looking past the superficial elements of what make a person who they are. It's not just like you can look at Ariels and think that she's trustworthy because she's the Pope, but really it's Viken that you'd feel safer in the hands of, even though she looks like a scary woman herself, right? So I think that's really perfect. But I think you also touched on something pretty cool there, and it was another thing that I keep bringing up, so somebody feel free to cut me off if I keep talking too much about it. But the notion of, like, adolescence, agency, and humanity, right? You have Delilah really ready to rush out of being a kid because she feels helpless and she wants the power to avenge her brother, versus Viken, who, like, immediately recognizes, like, oh my god, this is something that I need to protect. Like, you should not feel compelled to do that. Just because you think you're helpless doesn't mean you are, and you need to be able to exist as a person and as a kid.
Yeah. Also, with Viken, right, I did want to comment, like, how Delilah sees her, because I feel like I see them and they're like mother and daughter, right? Yeah. But she always calls her big sister. And I know there's a bit of a discussion around that, and
I'd love to
I
get
wanted
into
to
that
think,
as well.
yeah, because does Delilah even have a paternal figure I think the only thing she's known is having like a sibling, so I feel like that's the significance of it for me. That she values more a sibling than a parent. Because the sibling's like the only thing
she
she's
never had one. Like she never had a mom. Like Romeo says that she didn't even see her mother's face. I think. So yeah, I don't think she ever had a parental figure. That's sad. It makes me sad.
My thoughts on this subject have changed rapidly, and I feel like I always have a different answer every time I talk about it. And if you had listened to, I guess, any of the podcasts I've done before, or any of my tweets, I have been a staunch believer, like, oh, Delilah is, Baiken's daughter, and she views Baiken as a mother, even though she uses One-san and Big Sis, because that's just how Japan is. Japan values the relationship of a sibling more than the relationship of a parent, and that's just what it is. And I realize now, after many discussions I've had with people, that that's not really true. And siblings is such a big thing for Delilah, because all she's ever had her entire life was Romeo, and Romeo is unabashedly her brother. But Romeo, in everything that he does and all the actions that he does, in a way he kind of has to step up and be the father figure for her as well. Like, he is the one responsible for her nourishment, her, well-being, shelter, everything. And it's a role he didn't exactly want, but it's the one he stepped up for. And because, as Romeo even puts it himself, Delilah never had a mother to even look on, so he kind of became, her mom in a sense, too. And I think, like, Delilah has such a relationship that siblings equal safety, and, like, she sees Baiken as both this mother and sister, and it doesn't matter what she is, it's just as nebulous as Bedman is in, in Strive itself, because the bed, we don't know if this is really her brother or if it's just a piece of metal. And I think that kind of relationship with her brother is carried over into Baiken, where it's like, is Baiken my mom or is Baiken my sibling? And I think the fact that she's able to evidently say, like, hey, this is a person that cares for me and loves me, over, like, I think there's just a relationship there with how she views the bed as well.
Yeah, she calls the bed Big Brother. In story mode. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I think in her kind of nebulously defined relationship with Baiken, like vis-a-vis sibling or mother, that's kind of like another thing that is existing in service of her relationship to adolescence and maturity, because she's trying to reconcile the fact, like, hold on, this is a person who is like me, but also, like, has that power and that agency that I want, where it's like they're simultaneously someone who's experienced the same sort of struggles of being robbed of a childhood and being made into a weapon by yourself and by the world, convincing yourself that you're not worthy of love, but who's also kind of completed that journey now and is that mirror of the world to her in the same way that, Delilah is to Baiken, right? That you can look at and be like, oh, wait, I am a human being who's worthy of love and can exist as myself just by virtue of being born.
It does make me think what she'd call other characters she's related with. Because, like, she's very close with Ram, right? But not in the same sense as Baiken, obviously, because she's like... If I had to say, more like a cousin, if I had to pinpoint it.
I guess so, yeah. I never really thought about how Delilah would label her relationship with Ram, but it's very clear she does...
Yeah, she goes to her for advice, for example, or in her arcade mode, which, hey, if you have the character play it, I think it's personally one of the best arcade modes in the game so far.
Oh, absolutely. Undoubtedly.
A lot of the dialogue there has so much, like, power on me specifically, too, because, I relate to her in so many levels. If you put, like, the autism coding or the siblings relationship. I'm both an older and a younger sibling. I've been in both sides.
And
I think I really connected it.
That's really sweet. Like, you really do understand both angles of Delilah then. Like, hey, like, how Romeo would view the relationship with her and how you would interpret your relationship with your younger sibling as well. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah,
She was made for me.
I think the mention of the autism coding, I think, is also like such an essential part because it brings into the aspect, and at least this is how I feel as someone who, you know, also grew up being an autistic kid, right? That you have that idea that the world is like hostile against you because it's not designed with your needs in mind and how your brain operates. So it's again really, really cool to see that kind of solidarity expressed through Delilah and Viking, that, like, you know, happiness is still possible. And it also, I think, makes the horrorcore elements that much more salient because, you know, so often with horror we see it as an allegory for like social ostracization. I can't speak today. Social ostracization. Yeah, thank you. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
My teeth are like exploding. But yeah, no, the notion that like there's nothing horrible or evil about being born however you are, but like it's easy to feel that way sometimes. So again, I think humanizing Delilah and even the bed to a degree, I really like that we have those interactions between her and it, where she's like, "Oh, isn't it a little cute?" Like I think that goes a long way to show that Daisuke's like, "Yeah, no, everyone and everything, very important, full of soul."
Yeah.
Worthy of love.
She treats the bed as like a cute little, like, almost kind of pet, where she's like, oh, we're just gonna go out and have fun. We were eating breakfast together, we're going for a walk together, like, oh my god.
I love it.
Should we get to the circle?
1 second,
For a bit.
right
Okay,
before we get to the
sorry.
circle, I just wanted to say, shit, Jay, what were you talking about before? Hold on.
The autism thing with Delilah?
Right, the fact that, you said, like, for autistic people specifically, it can feel like the entire world was not, like, made to, like, help you out in any kind of way. Where it just feels like, oh, everything is so geared towards neurotypicals because, the thought for other people doesn't occur to them. Which, God, is that not true or what? But the fact that, like,
So true.
Delilah herself has, like, lines where she says, like, how am I supposed to exist if I want someone dead so badly? That she feels like she's been brought to such a low level and that she feels like she is broken, which is so sad to think about. But the fact that, like, she's stuck in this mind of thinking that she feels like, yeah, the world, it cannot, like, compute without her. She cannot operate in this world because there is no place for her within it. And that also loops back to, like, smell of the game and the thesis of Strive as a whole, where it's like, people will be made to feel like they are monsters and made to feel like they are othered and will get yelled at by society, but it's about finding your own place within it and by finding connection with others. And you will be a monster in their eyes, but why does that matter as long as you embrace it, you know? And I think that is a lot of Delilah's connection with Viking, where it's they both realize this within them.
And the main thesis of Guilty Gear, I feel like, right? Oh, you say that? It's like, oh, it's be yourself. Yeah. But it's a lot more than that, but it is be yourself.
Just be yourself.
A deeply profound be yourself.
Yeah.
It's a very, very loud be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Ooh.
Yeah, thank you, soul bad guy.
Soul bad guy.
Soul bad guy.
But
Like,
yeah.
just super quick, I wanted to, it kind of reminded me of the conversation that Soul has with Ram, where he's like, hey, happiness is just glass, and if you are going to tell yourself that you're a monster and that you don't deserve happiness because you are locked up in what other people say about you, just break that glass and do what makes you happy. You are the only one responsible for your own happiness in life. And I think that's also kind of reflected in why, like, Delilah looks up to Ram, because Ram has learned this lesson, and this is what helps Delilah self-actualize and realize I can accept these parts of myself that I think society deems unnecessary, like, unwanted. Like, hey, I'm an unwanted child, I want another person dead, and that's the biggest sin a person can commit, you know, wanting to erase human life. And the fact that she ends up responsible for, like, I think, what was it, like 400,000 people being in danger? That she just is constantly, like, stacking more and more problems on herself, and she feels like she's causing more and more problems and that she doesn't belong. Like, I think that's why she connects with Ram, because Ram is someone that looks out to her and smiles and says, hey, it's okay. If you can look at me and my smile, you'll be okay. and that really hits for me.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've watched a new story, I cried. Like is it like when
It's so true.
the moment when she like there's a moment in the story that always makes me cry when she just like tell me why to bike and I just break. The voice actors did such an amazing job in that part.
Yeah, her delivery is fantastic.
Yeah. You can feel like how much it hurts in her voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just cry all the time.
Yeah. No, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, just real quick, maybe Delilah's gotta put her glasses on because nothing will be wrong,
Oh, yes! Thank you! Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
But, there's a parallel there, too, with the fact that, like, Delilah and Shirka are very similar, and, like, hey, Baiken is very guts-coded.
Honestly, yeah.
And they are both children that, through being themselves, saves, the adult figure they look up to. Like, I think another story takes a lot of effort to emphasize, hey, it's not that Baiken saved herself or anything, it's that, Delilah saved Baiken by being herself. She didn't do anything except exist as herself and be pained, and Baiken saw kinship in that. She wanted to protect herself, protect this new, small life form that has, been in her possession.
Small life form.
I can't think of the best way to say, daughter, sibling, sister, but...
The small life form.
Small life form.
Just another traumatized kid. Because she was also once a traumatized kid, and she hasn't been able to let go of that.
They both just went, oh shit, she's just like me for real, for real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we did mention it in the previous attempt that the choice specifically of having Delilah and Baiken, two characters that never interacted before, was very good. I don't really have other words because I thought before she would be with Ram, because Ram is kind of the successor to a lot of Romeo's teachings, for example.
Yeah, and I think in the arcade mode it shows too, Ram and Delilah is something that has been in the workings for a while, where it's hey, Ram clearly holds Romeo in a positive light, which is weird to think about. Hey, this is a person that killed her dog, this is a person that did this and that. But Ram doesn't see it like that. Ram sees it wholly as hey, this is the person that taught me the meaning of loss and taught me how to be myself and gave me more things than he ever took away. Which I think is also how Delilah views Romeo, where it's hey, this is a person in my life who has taken so much from people, but he never took anything from me. He always looked out for me despite everything,
Actually,
This is
does
on the
know?
Bedman side. Two on the Bedman side. Xrd story. I'm gonna make it short, but the uniqueness scene really hits. Am I unique? Yeah, that whole thing. I'm sure there was talk about it in the other episode. So yeah. Moving on.
One of the most important scenes in all of Guilty Gear, I'd say, and it's only talked about so much because it's so good. Having a character,
Yeah, just so gracefully representing that theme of each human life being essential and important, and even if you are different, that you shouldn't let someone define you in any way, that it's you have to live your life for you.
Whatever happens, you were or are important to someone somewhere.
Exactly, yeah, because we don't get that reconciliation ultimately between Bedman and Delilah directly, but through the way he influenced Ram, he gets to live on and touch her in a positive way because Ram carries that lesson he gave her forward, and I think that that's so awesome. But yeah, no, it's still definitely very apt that we have Baiken being the most centralizing figure in Delilah's life specifically, because like we were mentioning before, these are two characters on the absolute fringes of relevancy among the cast. They really both kind of stick out, but it's so genius how Daisuke was able to identify that through line of both of them kind of being born a crime and viewing themselves as these pariahs because of what was taken from them in their childhood, and how not only is the world telling them that they aren't deserving of love because of how they were born and that they're monsters, that they have to be weapons, but they're believing it because it's the only way that they think that they can survive. So with Baiken now being surrounded by people who really genuinely care about her, I think it's so good for her to finally see Delilah and have the culmination of that lesson and to impart it onto Delilah too and be like, hey, I was where you were once, but now that I've seen you and I know what it's like to be on the outside of this, it's not worth it. The most important thing that you can do if you think that you're a monster is to live happily and look in the mirror again and see yourself as a human, as just a hurt kid who deserves to be loved and deserves to exist.
God.
Well, God, Delilah is just heavy, I guess.
Yeah.
Heavy does it.
Also, I just wanted to say, like, some real big Fooly Cooly vibes of, like, don't rush to grow up. Live as a kid. It's okay.
Yeah.
Can I just say super quick? I can't believe the people that say, like, oh, you know, Bedman overhead sucks, it's so slow, because I am getting hit by that shit constantly.
Surely they wouldn't Bedman
it's all
overhead.
about the mind games.
Dead Schmicks.
Man about to be Bedman
Yeah.
overheaded.
Dead Schmicks. Oh shit. Kill it.
I could never forgive the people that say that Delilah is not important to Bedman or should be, like, modded out or anything like that. Because other than the fact that she reacts to certain moves and that, like, hey, with 5H versus, I think, 6H, or sorry, 2H, she reacts differently and that can help you figure out, hey, what move's gonna come next.
Yeah, she's kind
of
of a timer, in a way.
Actually,
I just don't feel like she's cluttered at all. I really love, I've never seen, like, characters move around on screen like they do with her.
yeah.
Her colors
Like-
are super low-key, too. Like, she kind of blends into the background sometimes, and I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, it is. Posting on that daily Bedman account I run, and make me like I look really deeply into backgrounds and what's going on.
Oh god.
I do that all the time, but like posting daily pics of I don't know losing animations, what makes me realize that just how well done the interaction with each other. Like when you are jumping and get hit with the bomb of Faust, like they lay down on the floor and next to each other. Like I don't know, that's just one, but there's so many details, and I think they are amazing how they interact. So like those mods that just remove Delilah, like you're losing like a lot without her in the screen.
Yeah.
Like, she can
You're
be
losing,
be
like-
annoying at times, but it's
It's like a
I think
stoplight showing you colors, basically.
Yeah.
Me too,
If
it's
you
that,
were
like,
mad.
Bedman's silhouette isn't complete without Delilah. Like, there's so much of the silhouette is backloaded, where it's like there's this arching back and the head is creaking down and the giant looming arm is surrounding. And I think having, like, that very soft sensor with, like, Delilah in the middle and having her, like, fritz around, like, that completes it. Like, this is the full character. It
Yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah, because he's like a huge block of one color in the middle.
Yeah,
It's very on
yeah.
purpose.
The fact that, like, Romeo's purple clashes, like, with Delilah's green, I think helps say, hey, this is where Delilah is on screen, compared to this bright pink, purple background. I don't know. Pink? Purple?
Yeah. Magenta.
Magenta?
Yeah, the bed itself is purple, but the metal parts are magenta. Also,
Yeah,
Delilah looks kind of like an avocado. Okay, next.
No, true.
She does actually.
The avocado.
But yeah, it's evident that they really want. Yeah, they want you to really get fixated on her little animations because, like, I think they still say so much about the contradictions that sort of first emerge when you're looking at her character. Because even though she wants to deny that she's a thinking, feeling person, right, and just be a weapon, like she's so emphatic when she's hanging out with the bed. She's like, you know, reaching out her hand. She's crying out in fear when it's doing things. Like she's still definitely just a kid who's trying to live. And I think that that's very sweet. And just one more thing, sorry, that I wanted to touch on with regards to maturity, and then we could move on off of all my silly stuff, is I just really like, and we pointed it out last podcast, to lend credence to the fact that she's trying to rush to be mature because of her trauma. She's wearing platform shoes, and her shirt is too big on her. That's it.
Yeah.
It's... I mean, I can't even add to it. I just agree.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, same. I can't really add. It's like, yes, absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure we got
she
that
wears
detail in
big
again.
clothes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Something I just noticed too, like I noticed it as I was speaking, Bedman's design is top heavy, where all the design elements are focused to the top with the hand, with the head, with
Yeah,
the crown,
even the legs are
everything.
tiny.
And it's so cool how Delilah's character design reflects that, because her design is bottom heavy. She has this big flowing dress with big huge sleeves and giant funky shoes to direct your eyes downwards, and it creates like a very full image. Like they look hourglassy together, where it's like, hey, you got your focus point at the top, focus point at the bottom, and right in the middle you have her nice face where she's freaking out.
Yeah, where she's like, stop, no, don't break it, stop.
Where she's kindly asking you for an updo.
Oh, there it is. The upvote joke.
Mr. Vito, can you spare gold?
Just a little bit of Reddit gold, please. I was just subscribed to r/mildly interesting pictures. I wanted to share with them this.
She would be more of a Tumblr.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can see Delilah as being like a Pinterest girl, in the sense that she's like looking at nice pictures of like plants all day, and she's like, this one makes me happy.
Yeah, and it does connect with, like, in her bio she writes a lot, so I'm like, oh, she definitely has like a fandom like blog, and she writes headcanons like every day.
No, she is getting into arguments with people online about things. She's like, what the hell did you say about Shinji Ikari? I'll have you know that in episode this, he was actually like this, and
I think she'd be an incredible
she
person
doesn't
to get.
have a phone, but she would.
Yeah, she'd be an incredible person to get into an argument with online, because like who else could have like some real credence to them saying, I know everything. I know everything so much that it is a problem, so I'm right.
I know everything to the point it hurts.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to bring up, the fact that she shares Romeo's intelligence. Like, she also has knowledge of so much, and that like she probably, I wonder if she's into theater as much as he is, and like, I don't know, I like to imagine to myself that when she gets enlisted into public school, or enrolled is the right word, that she's just effortlessly great at everything, and her real challenge is like trying to connect with others and be a good friend of other people and learn how to open up, you know, in a kind of cliche way. But something I always like to imagine myself at work is that, like, oh, what if she entered the spelling bee and she she's able to spell really difficult stuff, and everyone's like, whoa, she's able to do that? And then they're like, wow, Delilah, you're so cool that you were able to do that. You're the best.
Yeah, no, it kind
cute.
of... Did you have something else to say, Dee? Sorry.
I also just like to think, like, hey, what if Baiken and Anji are both really worried that she's gonna get bullied or something because of how she acts, but then she gets to school and she's just such a, like, everyone's really cool with her, and they're like, wow, Delilah, you're so cool and awesome,
Wow,
actually.
she's so mysterious. Wow.
Yeah.
What an
She's just
interesting
like
kid.
thinking about whatever.
Like,
She could recite the full Wikipedia page for Chair to me. That's so cool. But yeah, no, I think that's a fun thing to bring up too, because it kind of touches on another thing that I had like some small notes on with regards to like the notion of like knowledge and naivete, right? Because we see both of these exemplified a little bit with Romeo and Delilah, where it's like they have that sort of childlike sense of wanting to trust things a little bit too much or wanting to distrust things a little bit too much, despite the fact that they like know so much about the world that it hurts them, right? That it's dangerous. And I really appreciate that Daisuke is drawing a distinction between the fact that, like, you know, being knowledgeable about something doesn't necessarily mean that you actually can put that information into practice, that you really know everything there is to know about the world, but it also doesn't mean that you have to be cynical, essentially. I feel like a lot of people have that, like, conflation with it, where it's like, oh, you see this like really intelligent character like Romeo and they must be like fucked up and evil, right? But I think Delilah is a good representation of the opposite, where it's like possible to be knowledgeable and then also nice. And then I think Asuka is another good iteration of that, in the same way that you know, being naive doesn't essentially mean that you're stupid or that, you know, you're not worth talking to, because that just means that there's more for you to learn about the world.
Asuka's the epitome of, I know so much, but I don't know how to act around others or know what people want exactly, and
she
and
knows
that
a
has
lot,
ruined my
but it's
life.
unskilled.
It makes me wonder,
Sorry,
like, I really would have
very-
wanted to see how Romeo and Asuka would have interacted, or Delilah and Asuka.
Oh, I
And
wish
they
this-
have interacted in canon where, like, Romeo puts Asuka in baby jail, but I want to see more from that.
Yeah.
Speaking of interactions, I remember the Sin and Delilah dialogues that were like really funny.
I'm older than you.
She's like, I can help you with your homework, okay?
I think that's an underlooked aspect of Delilah in the sense that she is, I'm not gonna say comedic relief, but she is really funny. She knows how to tell
honestly.
jokes. She does sarcasm really well. Effortlessly so. Like the fact that she's like, for dinner tonight, I'm gonna have a box of donuts and I'm gonna share it with the bed.
No, and honestly, I think that's a great denouement to what another story was trying to have Baiken achieve for her and restore her ability to, like, have a normal childhood again. Because we see that in her interactions in the arcade mode. It's, like, such a perfect epilogue. It's not Delilah being, like, evil and fucked up and mean and scared. Like, she's got normal kid problems now. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to go to bed early.
I don't want to do my chores.
Yeah, like, it's so cute. I think Daisuke did a really, really good job with that.
Or
And
when
I
she's like, yes, and Baiken's like, and? Yes, ma'am.
It's like, oh my god, they
I'm gonna
did
kill her
it.
for that.
Beautiful, absolutely
I think
beautiful.
that's why Delilah and Bedman are such popular fan art characters. Like, I think they have more fan art than a lot of characters put together. And I think it's because that dynamic is just so ripe for exploration, where it's like, any fun, happy thing you can think of, you can do. And also, there's the angst angle you can go for. That's always there as
Yeah,
well. But, like,
yeah.
It
they
is
are
And the
just,
horror angle.
they are just funny characters.
Yeah.
as someone who literally only draws Bedman and it is, and they are just endless possibilities that you can put them.
Yeah.
And they are also
That was almost so cool.
I don't know what happened. What happened? What happened there?
I grabbed him and then in the middle I PRC'd by accident. Well, it worked out.
I was confused.
We take those.
Yeah.
Well, what I was trying to
Intentional. Oh.
yeah, it was intentional, of course. What I was trying to say is, like, they are really endearing. Like they are so cute, and I don't know. I just really like them.
One of my favorite things that you've drawn was your little, like, I don't think it was a Christmas piece, but the little winter piece where they're just, like, cuddled up
was.
together and they're both looking, and Delilah's got this really wonderful smile, and it's like, yay!
I like drawing them in like backgrounds that they would not be. I don't know. I never go for the yanks, but I try to be realistic. Like, you guys
What I
deserve
really-
it.
What I really like is, every time there's a summer or beach collab and people draw Delilah on the bed or just the bed, and it's like, oh, it's the bed wearing a nice little bikini, or like just chilling out and holding an umbrella, and it's like, I love putting the bed where the bed does not belong.
Yeah, I love doing that
Very
too.
funny.
I
Yeah.
like giving it like ears, like bunny ears, like I don't know, like a little hat. I don't know. I just really like that.
God, I think about, now that you mentioned hats, I think about the crown he has right now.
Oh yeah.
And it really baffles me because it feels like it's the same thing that the Happy Chaos, like,
Yeah.
me,
Halo is made of.
Okay.
To me, it kind of reads like a chess metaphor, where it's like, hey, Bedman is the king. Without the king, you know, your game is over. And the king can move in any direction, like very similar to the 8-way dash, which is also the way the king can move.
Oh,
but
yeah,
also,
he is
the
pretty
king is
chess
very
coded.
ineffectual on his own. Like, you can't do anything with the king, really. It's about what, like, the things around the king that really operate in chess, which I think plays into Romeo's, like, ha, falling right into my trap card kind of, like, genius kind of level planning, and also
Yeah,
plays
he's funny
into
like that.
and also plays into the bed's, like, kind of, like, ineffectual operation, where Like, the bed right now is, like, kind of clunking around and just kind of barely getting things done, but it's doing it so with such a ferocity that it's deadly. Like, the king can take any piece and can move in any direction. The possibilities are limitless, but it can still only move a step.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what the crowd means to me, at
such
least.
an insane, like... I don't mean it in a bad way. I just never thought of it like that. I'm very interested in that now.
It would have more backing if there were more chess metaphors going on with the bed, but unfortunately that would kind of be it, so maybe it actually is fruitless.
I mean, it's the
but...
crosses, right? But yeah, a lot of it's like more dreamlike reality.
I wonder what it means then for Bedman, or I guess even the robot, to be the king of dreams then. Like, what could the king represent then? I don't know.
I mean, that's more Bedman territory, but in his song, I remember he has like a dream catcher. And I'm like, I wonder if he like literally uses Dreamcatch as a dream catcher for energy. But that's like more headcanon. Because it's like kind of the thing that Hemijack is made of and his super here is made of too. Like that red energy. And I think that could be like some sort of nightmare energy. I haven't really thought it too much. It's just a thing.
Hey, someone that's good at the game. I see a lot of Bedmans when they're doing their stuff, they put in a bunch of 5D. When are you supposed to do 5D? I've always known 5D as an Eno player that it's just a slow button, but I don't know when to work it in.
I get
or why they even go for it.
Yeah, pretty much like you just want to use 5D stage, right? Like I do 5, like whenever I do like 6 hours, usually rush to 5D, but I have 5 the best combos, so I just do it.
No. You know what? Fair. Slay.
I just know all the moves, like this is the hand thing, this is the feet thing. I don't know about the names.
You know, it's so crazy. I remember when Bedman was coming out, everyone was like, oh man, the commentators are gonna have such a hard time commentating Bedman because of the move names. But then Bedman didn't make any top 8s except for Chaos once, so we never got to experience it.
Yeah.
There's a way to address that problem.
You see, but they don't need to say the names.
Yeah.
Like, you can just make call-outs.
Everyone just calls it Beyblade anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I really love fan art of Delilah playing Beyblades with everyone, and she's using Bedman as the Beyblade.
Oh my god, I've been thinking of like doing art of Delilah in different games, and like the ideas are like always like the weapon is Bedman themed, and I think of her like doing Beyblade like a Bedman themed little like top. I don't know. I didn't go far with that. I just think it's cute.
I think it's cute too. No, I think it is worth bringing up.
Absolutely.
But if I'm not mistaken, Danny, I think a few minutes ago you were saying that you had something to bring up with regards to the circle in Delilah?
Yeah, now would be a good time to go into the circle.
That's a big thing, because the circle is a song indeed. It's one of the songs in Guilty Gear Xrd.
It's definitely one of the songs of all time.
It is. It is. My favorite song is Unforgettable. I love this song so much.
Wow,
I'd say yeah, me too. I love it.
I really love the circle.
I remember
but also I like to think about the interpretations. What do you guys think of it?
I'll let you guys go first before I say anything.
My interpretation on it changes all the time. Like, from one day,
no, yes, Sam.
One day it's gonna be like, oh, it's like, fucking when there's passing moments, like, you know, like how it's just passing away. And then on the other, just like, oh, it's more like that, or something like that. It's like, yeah, this part is like, I don't know. It's on these.
Yeah. I think of when it first released, there was a wave of, oh, this song is shit, and then everyone just went, oh, it's peak, actually.
Yeah.
That was me. I listened to it and I was like, I can't take this, like, the spoken part by Naoki. I think this is kind of sloppy. Why does it keep switching up so much? Oh my god, I hate this song.
No,
I was so
I
excited
listened to
for
it
too.
again.
And now I listened to it 10 more times, and I was like, I'm never listening to anything else ever again.
I think it's just a very funny effect it had. Just in general, for like very in character, weirdly enough, too.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh,
yeah, have everybody warm
I
up
gotta
to it
say,
and be like,
too,
oh.
Even after all these listens, like, the circle is what made me buy a bass. I have a bass in my room that I've not played as much,
Fuck
but
yeah.
I bought it
So
because
cool.
of this song.
That is so cool.
I think about the bass in that song often.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. The little slap bass intro.
Have you guys seen
Yeah.
the intro by that one Guilty Gear animator where it's Delilah and she's holding the guitar and it's way too big
Oh,
for her,
yeah.
but she's playing it?
Yeah. Funny enough, I think you talking about. I think talking each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Shout out.
Nice.
He's a cool guy. He's still uploading right now.
Yep.
He puts out really high quality shit. I like him a lot.
So yeah, I think of like the first few theories being turned around, like it's from the point of view of Bedman in Hell. I remember that one,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted to ask what you feel about that one.
I think
'Cause-
this song is really interesting, and obviously the entire point of the song is that it's open to interpretation, and you can interpret it any way, but it's really fun to interpret it in certain ways, so I will.
Yes.
Like this is
And
like this.
it all
yeah.
comes down to what time period the song takes place. That's the big question. We don't know when the song takes place. I've seen it argued that this song is happening in the 5 seconds it takes for Romeo to die, which personally I don't really like that interpretation because I think it's boring, and I don't think it's fun
see.
to think about, like, oh, and then the last 5 seconds, this is everything going through his head, even though it does make sense. Like, he has a highly, what's it called? He's got a lot of thoughts in his brain, and he has been shown to think about 10 things at once, so it does make sense if the entire song played while he was dying. I like thinking it in the afterlife sense, but it's like, is this he when he's recently in the afterlife? Has he been in the afterlife for a long time? Is he...
Or maybe it's like a message in the bed.
Oh yeah.
Because
Is this-
I'm thinking about the copy that, right? And it really gives me like the vibes of when there's like a movie and a character's parent died or something, and there's like, oh, this was their last message, and it was regarding you. Holy shit. And
Oh, that's
it
kind of
just,
cool, actually, yeah.
It does
Yeah.
remind me of that too.
The way I really liked interpreting it is that it's Romeo and he's been in this half void, half dead, not whatever, half alive state that
Backyard
he's been
something.
in the backyard, surrounded by information, and he's in this void that he described, and he's giving instructions to the
So much
robot from
information.
post-mortem on how to care for Delilah and what to do now, but it's getting so jumbled up in his own feelings, his own emotions, and his own fright at his own situation that the robot is taking the wrong messages from him. Where something I really, really like is that, like, Romeo will say, like, oh shit, I need to go look at the lyrics, 1 second. Someone else play.
Then I'm gonna put a pin on the meaning of the circle itself.
Hold on. No, I just gotta look up the lyrics super quick.
Yeah, so
Seeing the chat log is really funny that Nate's is in Spanish compared to everyone else. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Muchas gracias. Wow.
So here it is, right? The lyrics, you know, pitch black, pure white, all the same, endless and finite. To me, this reads like atmospheric. Romeo is in this void. He's looking around. He's feeling these things. He's scared. He's trying to comprehend it. He can't. He's torn between pitch black morality, pure white morality. He doesn't know good or evil. He sees nothing but infinite blank space. And he's trying to tell the robot, please, care for my sister. I need you to be there without a second thought. Go there immediately, teleport her and be by her side and tell her that I love her, that kind of message. But instead, the robot says, you know, pitch black, pure white, all the same. Endless, finite, copy that. And it's copying his fear instead of his love for Delilah. And it's making the robot freak out and go murderous and destructive. But then there's these small moments where he does make it through the robot, and he's reminded, hey, Delilah, I do love for you. I can't make you smile, but I will never make you cry. I'll never hurt you.
That's sort of like the line Sever.
That line makes me cry every time I hear it. The song is like,
Me
oh
too.
my god.
Same.
While I
Or
can't
like-
command this robot to love you, I can command the robot to protect you, and that's the most I can do. And that's
Or like
really cool.
the sort of like Disney villain bad ending kind of song moment where it's like, no, you can't see the light, you can't feel the. I don't know it by memory anymore. Apparently, I used to, but
Bedman moment?
it shit.
You hear the beautiful chant, you feel the tender warmth, can you see the radiant light?
No.
Oh, no, I can't.
No.
Like, it did have like a feeling of like, sort of the song where they, I don't know, kill the main Disney villain. Vibe-wise. But I was gonna comment on like the meaning of the circle itself, because I know that the main theory, I don't know if it's the main theory anymore, like, it's the circles of hell. With
I've
like,
never heard of Circles of Hell. That's like
is it?
I'm not entirely familiar with it. There's like 9 layers of hell, right? Is that the
Yeah,
circles,
and
or?
I think the last one was treachery, like the frozen, completely like frozen. You just think about your memories back and back again, and it does have like a cinematic parallel with him, with how he ends up in another story where just the final shot of the head crying. But
I've seen also that it's the circle of life, but that just feels very Disney to me, where I don't think that's exactly what it's going for. But there is a circle to life, and life cycles are something that every human being, every animal, every living thing will go through, of, you know, reproduction.
Yeah, but he escapes the circle. Okay, I can see that, right. What I had in mind personally is the circle being like the cycle of violence. Because it's like, Bedman was treated badly, from what we can assume from what we saw. She treated badly back to make a better world. Then Delilah was like going to be the next one, but she broke out of it. And I think my theory is personally with like a Delilah interpretation of the song being that she's the one that worked hard to escape the cycle of violence and vengeance. It's not like 1-to-1. I think it's like 50-50, but...
You know, I never once thought of the circle as an interpretation of Delilah's own theme, but I guess when I do think of it like that, when you consider, do you hear the radiant, do you see the radiant light, do you hear the beautiful chant and all this, it could be that, like...
Romeo
she's
talking to her?
We always thought it was, hey, we always thought it was Romeo talking to Delilah. What if it's Delilah trying to say, hey, can you please hear all these wonderful things that I'm having in my life right now? I'm finally experiencing the good that you wanted for me. Can you please hear it and be here with me? I wanted to experience these things with you, not just for myself.
I wonder if she sees the bed in her dreams.
Absolutely. Oh god, wait, I didn't even consider the fact that, like, she's got, like, fully, what's it called, where you control your dreams.
She has, like, she's more powerful than Romeo, apparently, as she said, right? We just aren't shown how, just the scale, right?
Power scale Delilah for me, she's at the top.
Oh shit. Delilah solos the verse?
Alright, so.
Actually,
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I'd win.
Is Delilah a nerd emoji?
no, I'd win.
cheese.
Undoubtedly. But that's the appeal. Because weren't we all that kid one of these days back in the day? I know I was, but
We all
I think there's also an interpretation you could go for where the circle means a literal thing. Like, hey, what is the big thing on Bedman the robot's, like, design? Well, it's that circular head of his, or its.
Or the eye, the single eye.
So, Bedman leaving the circle could be, hey, I am leaving my flesh prison, I am leaving the robot that I inhabit, and I am I am dead now. My spirit has moved on, and all that remains is up for you to decide and to, deal with.
Yeah. God, it's such a cool song to talk about.
It really is. It really
Because
is.
there's also the angle like, hey, the circle could be of code. The circle can be like... The fact, oh my god, there was one interpretation that was like, hey, the circle is the only shape that has, like, no points, no angles, nothing. So it is just endlessly looping. You want to get to the center of the circle, but you can't. You're forever on the perimeter. You're forever circling around something, the point. And this point being for Romeo life. He can never return to life, but he can always surround it very briefly, like, looking at it, but never touching.
Even from, like, a philosophical standpoint with how everyone remembers him.
I saw something once that was like saying that, that line in when Romeo like insta kills himself, like when you insta kill Bedman, you get,
oh my god, wait, it's pie!
You get, yeah, you use pi to calculate circle meters. I think I'm not really good at math, but I
think that lends a lot of credence to the circle being like the more literal shape then, because Delilah and Romeo are both named after a mathematician, famously a mathematician Neumann that worked on the atomic bomb and, a nuclear deadly weapon, but also required the most advanced mathematics we had at the time. But
oh boy,
yeah.
We finally got that back from that point from like the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
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 Something I wanted to bring up, last time I keep bringing it up, but for those who are not aware, we did try recording this episode quite a few times before, but it just crumbled completely because of audio issues, which is very funny considering Bedman himself, as the robot, is a robot falling apart and has audio issues, and...
Yeah.
But during that time, I brought up that I feel a very Jewish connection to Delilah, because Delilah and Romeo are both named after a Jewish man. And a big thing of Judaism is taking the good as equally as the bad. So whenever bad things are happening, it's good to remember the good things in your life. And conversely, whenever good things are happening in your life, it's good to remember the bad in your life. Don't let yourself get too elated on either emotion, so that therefore you can live a sound life. And I think that's something that Delilah balances pretty well towards the end of her arc, because she remembers the sacrifice that Romeo gave her, and as Romeo tries to erase himself from her life, or whatever left to him in the arcade mode with the robot does try to commit suicide, which is crazy to think about. Delilah stops it, despite the pain that it gives her, because it is the last good memory of her brother, outside of the memories that people have of him. Despite how ugly this monster may look, despite how much it hurts her, emotionally, and how much it hurts everyone else physically, it is still something that is wholly good in her mind. And that feels to me like a very Jewish thought. And additionally, there's another angle of it too, where it's like, hey, this monster that was created and it was given life, that's very similar to the Jewish concept of a golem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And for those that are not aware, in Judaism, it's the idea that Adam was a being made of clay, and he became a human being. And then from that point, there are mud constructs that we make that inhabit life. And it's very, what's it called? Not fan fiction, but what's the word? Like fantasy stuff, right? Like
more mythical?
Mythical, I guess. There's a word for this I'm not thinking of at the moment. And I think it almost ties into how Daisuke really likes using horror in his stuff, like with Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is a golem in a lot of ways, or a robot, which are also forms of golems. And, like, the thing with golems, too, is that you can write on their head the Jewish word aleph, which can mean, like, life or death. And that's how you turn them on and off. And obviously, life and death is such a huge thing for golems. And golems don't live for themselves, they live to protect others, which is exactly what the robot does.
I was hoping you'd mention, yeah.
And there are many stories of golems in Jewish literature and in history, tales of this creature, where we summon golems to protect against like things that have happened to us, and they can go on murderous rampages in for the sake of protecting. And seeing it interpreted as this like zombified robot corpse is so cool. And it's kind of rare you get like kind of Jewish horror, and I know I'm going on about this, but that's just because I personally connected it in that way to me.
Yeah.
And it's
I
not
was
that
very
she's
curious when you mentioned it.
and it's not that she's like actually Jewish, because there's been no like, hey, I've got a Star of David and I believe this and that and I celebrate this, but more that like I feel this way about myself and I can see these parallels reflected in her and her brother, and I think that's really cool, because I can't think of a single Jewish character in all of video games outside of like Blaskovich and Wolfenstein.
And Wolfenstein, yeah.
Oh, that's a franchise.
Yeah, it is definitely a franchise.
Some of the games of all time.
I forgot what point I was making too, but I just think it's cool that
No, but her like general Jewish coding, right? Should I say coding? I guess.
No, I think
it's
that
not
it's
directly
present.
said, but
parallels, I guess, yeah.
Parallel.
Illusions, maybe?
Additionally, I think it's really cool that she's named after a nuclear scientist, one of those that was responsible for the atomic bomb, considering that in another story she becomes an atomic bomb that they all have to stop.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great.
She's a bit of opposite of coughing baby.
Simultaneously coughing baby and hydrogen bomb.
Yeah.
The hydrogen baby.
Coughing bomb.
We found the hydrogen
Coughing bomb.
And now I would like to move on to my favorite part of Delilah. Well, not my favorite, but one of. And it's the fact that she and Romeo are named after Freddie Mercury's cat.
Yay.
And that Delilah is so cat-coded, and she's just a sweet
Yes,
little...
I see that all the time.
Yeah, that's so true.
There's the cat mod where she and Romeo both have the cat ears.
Yeah. Like the eye thing, I don't know, the personality, everything is so cat code for me.
It's so true.
Like I see people saying like she's also a sheep, she's a I don't know, a raccoon. No, she's a cat. She's a cat.
It's true. It's true.
Vikings the raccoon.
Undeniable.
I think Vikings the raccoon. Sorry.
Yeah. She does love eating garbage.
Me, I see Biken as a huge hairy bear.
Okay,
In
in
that
that too.
respect.
That also. True.
But for a cat, too, to be likened to Delilah, which was intentional, I think it's really cool how she follows Biken. She never makes her presence known, but she always follows right behind Biken.
Quietly
Always
walks behind.
always kind of glaring and looking, and as soon as Biken turns around to look, she gets kind of scared a bit, but she still keeps going. Like, I love her so much.
Same.
I think the Delilah and Biken walking scene is such a small moment, but one of my favorites in all of Guilty Gear.
It's
Like,
iconic.
I
Yeah.
have it as like my banner on Tumblr. It's like, yeah. Let me in, I want to fight someone.
Oh shoot.
Okay. You're so good.
I just been enjoying
Muchas
this.
gracias.
I just been enjoying
Muchas
this
gracias.
so that
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
gracias.
Oh, we haven't really talked about, like, Delilah's design. I guess we've touched on it a bit,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I just... I
Oh
love
yeah,
the
we
big
kind of
dress.
skipped it this time.
I think the fact that Delilah has her big up arrow to kind of represent that she's like more optimistic than Romeo's constant pessimism is really cool. And also the fact that Delilah lives compared to Romeo dying and going down under.
She's waking up. She's waking
That's so mean. She's just a little meow meow.
Never did anything wrong, and if he did, it was by accident, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Totally.
If she does something wrong, it's okay because she's so lucky.
Yeah.
Do you
yeah, we
guys
spent-
think that damn it, I lost what I was gonna say. Jay, you speak.
We spent a little bit, Danny mentioned, we spent a little bit of the original recording just talking about the design similarities and differences between Bedman and Delilah, and I just wanted to retread that if possible, just because, you know, it was a cute, it's a small thing, but I think it's pretty cute the way that their palettes are essentially inverted, and where Bedman is in this sort of like, I guess, like, hospital patient gown, Delilah looks a little bit to me more like she's wearing like the doctor or nurse's outfit, you know. She looks like the Dr. Frankenstein rather than a patient at the hospital. I guess helped along that fact.
That reminds me, her art on the pop-up shop, she doesn't have the screws.
Yes! She can take them off!
The screws are off!
So she just takes them off, unlike Romeo, and I think it's like, it could be a cute thing where she's like, yeah, my brother did this. I can do it.
It's so crazy to me that she can take them off. I thought they were embedded in her skin, like the same way Romeo's was, but like, oh no, she can just take it off.
I mean,
that's kind of cool.
maybe they are.
It's a fashion statement.
The fact that she doesn't have her arrow either, meaning it really is just like a little hairpin that she has on, is so cute.
Yeah, it does make me think if, like, those things on Romeo are, like, there, like the arrow, for example, like, is it on his head to, like, use the bed, for example, and she's just like, you know what, I'm gonna accessorize myself because I look up to him.
Like,
Oh, I didn't even think about that. She probably got a lot of her fashion from him.
Yeah.
I always thought the screws, I don't know how to pronounce it. Well, yeah, I always thought they were like something to contain power for some reason. I always thought it was something like that.
Feels like it. But yeah, I just found it really funny that they just weren't there. So it's either one, a mistake, or two, the funniest thing, it's just she can just be...
I saw someone make a theory once that the screws that are on Delilah and Romeo are like power inhibitors because they look really similar to the Zep Potemkin power inhibitor things. Which I thought was really cool, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was what it was, because... I think it's very anime to be like, I'm just holding back all my power, and the fact that Delilah's like, I'm the most powerful thing you've ever seen, I'm just holding back.
I see the super where he takes like the thing out of his eye and makes it explode, and the lighting on it is so cool. It's a little thing, but it just, his eye completely, like all the meat completely goes dark, except for the glowing eye. And it's such a cool visual. Okay, let's see.
No, honestly, all the animations, we've spoken about them here and there throughout the podcast, but so excellent. The ones for Delilah, obviously great, and of course the ones for the bed, amazing. So cool, so creepy and fun.
I think about how they were delayed because it was a bit of a technical issue to implement.
Yeah, and it's easy to see that it was worth it.
They talked about it too, where it was like, for a while they didn't know how they wanted to implement Delilah and Bedman, because they didn't know, oh, do we make Delilah her own character? Do we make them a puppet character? Do we have it feel Delilah stands off to the side? And I really like the solution that they ended up picking, where it's that they're both on screen at the same time, and that Delilah is very scared about everything that's going on. I've seen some people
like that
say
she doesn't fight. Because I think she knows she shouldn't try that again.
I've seen some people say it kind of sucks that Delilah doesn't fight and that it takes away from her, but I completely disagree because I think Delilah has earned the right to not fight ever again. Like, she is a child, she wants to grow up, and she's gonna have a happy life. She will not fight. And that's kind of cool.
You tell him.
I really hope that in a future game it's that she becomes a mechanic or something and she repairs the robot.
I was thinking about it. Oh shit. Because I was doing like a silly like AU drawing, right? And I was thinking how she'd start studying the bed maybe, and she'd become like a mechanic. I was thinking she should probably have like a backpack with the head later. So she's like, you know what? I'm taking you with me. Okay, there you go.
When I cosplay
Let's go on a walk.
I have a backpack with the head.
Yeah,
on
like the cosplay. I think I partially inspired it off the cosplay you showed.
That makes me very happy. Thank you. I spent like 3 weeks making it with Jay in his backyard, and we got styrofoam heads, and then we painted it and we carved it out, and then we put like a little light bulb in for the eye so that it could glow, and then we made like his stepdad actually helped us with the arm part where the head could like twist around on the backpack, and we filled up the backpack with a lot of wood so that it could stand up. And when I was finally done with it, I felt so cool. I was like, oh, I'm carrying Romeo with me on my back. This is so cool.
It's definitely suitably heavy.
Hey, but the best part is I didn't have to carry it for all the entire con. You did.
I was gonna say that's why you have a boyfriend. It is my job, but I'll gladly accept it.
I like the idea that it's just kind of the head, the important part, so you can just stick it on whatever. If I had to say, I think I'd love to see fan art of like different ways the head could be put on.
No, I'd love that.
I kind of like the idea of like if you go for a classic anime approach where it's like she's got a backpack and then like the head is inside the backpack and it's like kind of peeking out whenever she says something and it's going like, huh? What? She's like, no, you gotta get back in there. They can't see you.
You smoke too tough. Don't kill you.
Your frame data too bad.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about it at all, but I really want to bring up, I think Delilah has such a good voice actress.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. Nate brought it up, and it definitely bears repeating.
Yeah.
I constantly make jokes with Jay, like, doing impressions of her voice because it's really fun to do. She's like, she kind of speaks a little bit like this, and it's kind of a little awkward and a little mumbly, but I really like it.
Yeah, she's so quiet.
That's great.
Yeah.
She, the voice actress for her is actually the same voice actress as, like, a character in The Loud House. I think it's the goth one. Which,
very appropriate.
What a good fit there, I guess.
Yeah.
I was surprised to find out that her voice actress is, like, an adult woman, too. I totally thought it was, like, a child.
Good voice matching.
But she does a really good job of selling like the young child's like performance and also doing the emotional scenes really well. Like the fact that she sounds so genuinely upset where she's talking about her grief with her brother and how she just wants this violent new future for her. Like she carries that so well. She feels like a child with two big shoes.
And well, she is a child with two big shoes.
I realized I said that, but
no, it's kind of a point of the design. So.
I also really, really like Delilah's like eye bags. In the most pleasing way possible. I like that Delilah's a little ugly, and that she's the only, like, I wish other characters were allowed of the same design freedoms that she was given, because she's so cool! Like, the fact that she has these imperfections on her face, no other female character in the series is allowed to have those for some reason, except for maybe Baiken. And I wish that they, like...
Even
Baiken, because I see her 3D model, and I see her art, and in her art, they made so much emphasis on how her face was like, I forgot the word in English, but you know, she looks very angry. She has like a lot of like, lines. It's not like her face is contorted itself. It's just she's very expressive in the art. And then I look at her 3D model, and it doesn't feel like the same character.
I feel the same way. Like I like how much she's like biting her lip in the art that she looks genuinely ferocious.
She's like
and
so
then
gruff.
The 3D model, it's painted, the scars are painted onto her, and that she's got very soft, feminine lips, and it's like, I don't know. It could have, they could have done I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree.
Finding these in female characters,
Yeah.
I hope when they bring ABBA, and this is a when, no if, when, okay?
When.
True.
they allow her face to be more cartoony, right?
My ideal ABBA is like Faust, and if they don't make her like as fucked up as Faust looks, I am gonna be so disappointed.
Same.
But
True.
A part of me feels like they're gonna make her into a waifu, and I really don't want that to be the case.
No, me neither. Like the point of what made ABBA really
no, but I think it's
so weird,
I'm I'm optimistic about it because she's like the horrorcore character. Of course they'll do it for her.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think the fact that in Xrd they put so much emphasis into animating Jam's cheeks and her mouth and how much facial animation Jam has kind of tells me maybe they would go that extra length for Abba and make it so that she does like have a longer face. Maybe she's got drooping like eye bags. Maybe she's got like a slack jaw kind of. I'm hopeful. You know what? I hope that this does end up being the case.
Please.
I know Abba was like the first episode, but I love her so much. Anyway.
I'm planning on doing a second one when she comes out, so.
Oh, that's good.
Because God knows
we're just saying when.
Her story's gonna definitely change or get additions when she comes out, so.
I want to see in the future, right? It feels like Ramalethal is gonna be the new protagonist. Again, something we touched on the previous recording. I have a little bit of deja vu. Okay, but yeah, since it feels like Ramalethal is taking like the torch in main story.
Yeah.
I do want to see her interact with Delilah more. Because with Elful getting at it, we had like the taunt for Bedman, where she had like that whole talk, and
I think it's that they're developing a very clear quartet of main characters with Sin, Ram, Elfil, and Delilah, and it works out too because they all have personalities that work really well together. Where Sin is a very happy jock. Like Elfil is this extreme prep kind of like punky girl. You know, you got Ramalethal, who is this very forlorn, like kudere kind of character, but she's slowly warming up. Maybe in the future we'll even see her be like boastful, like that's how much she's like obtained emotions. And then
that
we
would
have
be nice.
like, and then we're gonna have Delilah, who is more of that like quiet, nerdy character, which I think that's gonna develop like a really fun group dynamic if they really do go through with it. And I can totally see it too, where it's like, oh, the Sin, Ram, and El are off doing some big, like, job thing, or like there's a big enemy, and they come up to Delilah and they're like, hey Delilah, can you make us like weapons, or can you do this for us? And she's like, yeah, sure, I can do whatever, Maybe even give her like a Kokonoi kind of style thing from BlazBlue, where it's like, she's the team mechanic kind of person.
Yeah,
I'm just having fun here.
That's kind of one of the things I want to do for like the AU. I'm wanting to work on, but also on and off. But yeah, it's just like that she has like that niche of character I really like, of like the, I don't know how to call it because it's not specifically puppet characters, just double trouble. And I don't know, I just think it's a very fun thing to play with.
How would you guys want Delilah and Bedman to be in the future, I guess? Like, Nate, do you have any ideas?
I wish in the next game or something like that Delilah gets to be like her own character. Like you said before that she shouldn't be fighting. She'd be happy. But maybe giving her like,
maybe she's fighting for others now. Like, it's not that she's doing it for her own revenge's sake, but she's doing it to protect others, kind of like Ramalethal is doing.
Yeah, maybe like that.
Yeah,
and
since she doesn't like her powers.
Yeah. And I had like, I thought about like an YouTube. Sorry. I thought about an AU thing too, where like she rebuilds, I think that's how you say it, the bed, like to resemble more Romeo and like that. I don't know. I hadn't looked too much into it, but yeah.
I think it'd be fun if she like used Romeo as like a backpack with a bunch of gadgets.
Yeah.
It's just like a out of nowhere thing though, but yeah.
Delilah, are there any changes you would want to see for like Romeo, Delilah, like in future games, like gameplay wise, or?
like it's kind of like Nate said. I kind of want to see that, like Delilah being fully playable of her own, because I think that's what route they're gonna take. That's maybe that's what they're gonna take, and also I really want to see.
I think
they're. I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, they're leading to it.
Outside of that, I don't really have any idea how. But I'm interested.
I'm realizing now, like, I think Delilah and Bedman, when played right, could have like a very like Western cartoon kind of like dynamic about them, where it's like Delilah's like trying to hide Bedman and try to keep her monster out of trouble. But maybe that monster teaches her how to love.
Yeah.
Wow. Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, we haven't talked about this. Delilah's relationship with Anji, and the fact that Anji just found this crying child out of nowhere and was like, I'm gonna pick this up. I'm gonna
So funny.
God, I love Anji. He's so funny.
That was really funny. Just at the start of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, they just found this child. And I just decided to
I found this child and now it's your problem, Bike, and bye! I gotta sell umbrellas, bye!
This weird kid reminded me of you, so please take care of her because I don't know.
Please take care of her.
Smiles.
Spike, and I found this sopping wet, sad cat outside, and it's looking for a new home.
Oh my god, he really would be like, oh hey, Mike, and I found a cat, can we keep it?
But then it's that Viking loves the cat more than Anji did, so...
Yeah, it's like... It's the cat. It's when the dad just doesn't want the cat, but they end up being like the closest.
Mike and I found this small life form.
Small life form.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna hear about this for like the next 3 months.
You might.
I'm gonna get bullied.
Maybe.
I will remind you of it on Twitter. Oh.
No! I could have said child. Why didn't I just say child?
Yeah, you could have said child.
She's more than just that. She is a life form.
She's a life form that cannot be comprehended. She cannot comprehend.
Oh, jeez, I feel like my face is all hot. I feel stupid.
No, it was good.
Yeah, it was
it's a
really
good
good.
thing, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we all kind of stumbled over our words on the podcast today, so do not worry about it. I know I've messed up saying ostracization like 8 different times, so you're not alone.
Happens.
With that, I guess we should start transitioning into the closing parts of the podcast. Any like final thoughts you guys have, or anything we haven't covered yet? Oh wait, we haven't covered more of the meat theory stuff. I know you wanted to get more into that.
I mean,
or no?
Me, I did mention most of what I wanted. All the other stuff is like little things that made me think that. For example, his idle animation. A little thing he does is that he's like constantly checking around for a second, checks out, and starts checking around again. You can see it now if you can like not fight for a second, but he's like analyzing surroundings, then just spaces out for a second, restarts, and starts doing it again. It's like constantly
It's crazy to
failing.
think that he immediately forgets and then just goes right back to that task again.
Oh, that's cute.
I think it's cute, but also, wow, kind of sad.
She has the saddest intro ever.
It's so sad! Like,
I hate that intro. That intro's so funny.
Okay.
But like, you know, I think about how they mention like, oh yeah, you can like overanalyze their animations all you like. I don't know, I don't remember where they said it, right? But like, you can see that it's like constantly eyes darting around everywhere. And then just stops for a bit. I think those little things that add a character also I applied to the headcanon itself.
Something I really like is that when Delilah is directly on top of Bedman, they made special animations just for them to jump and do moves.
Yeah, like, the hand.
That's why this character was delayed. There's like they have 4 sets of animations. so cool.
I think they set it up so it's like the same animation always, but the arm itself has to like be set as a different thing, and they just blend the animations. It's a thing I've been trying to see how they do, because I have seen it in other characters. So fun.
I know it's something that was talked about a lot on the Arxis animation. On their their GDQ. No, what's it called? Their game
the presentation. Yeah.
And it's also something that a lot of the fan animators talk about, where it's like, hey, these models have so many fucking bones, and they blend so much 2D and 3D together. It's so like, it's hard, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's
really cool.
That's like what I fell in love with Xrd. Right, because they kind of started the whole thing before it went to Dragon Ball Fighters and all those other Arxis games that started like using the 3D. But I think the transition from me being like, oh, I have Accent Core on the Nintendo Wii, and then seeing like, oh shit, there's 3D and 2D. Okay.
You started off with Guilty Gear on the Wii?
On
Sorry,
the Wii? I respect that.
Look,
I respect that.
That is a rare title to have.
I'm extremely broke.
No, I think it's cool as hell, and I think you should have that as like a bragging right, kind of, because how many people can say they got into this with Guilty Gear on the Wii?
Yeah. Sorry.
Is it the version with ABBA in it, or sorry, I guess
think
Water Soul?
I don't remember exactly because I played the Wii and I had like a pirated PS2 where I played other pirated versions of different games.
That's
and
okay, I also have
think
a pirated PS2.
Pirated? What's that?
You never run out.
What's going on?
But yeah, so I remember playing Order Soul once. I don't remember if it was on the Wii or on the PS2 though.
I have the Switch version.
There's Switch versions of Guilty Gear too? I had no idea.
I think it's just the old ones.
It's Plus R and the Switch.
You know, I thought Maximilian was full of shit when he said that Sakurai was actually taking a huge initiative to get fighting games on the Switch, especially with the SNK stuff. But I guess it's true if old Guilty Gear is on the Switch. That's kind of cool.
No, yeah, I think they should do
Switch,
more.
but...
It's fun.
I don't know, but Missing Link is definitely a game. Like, my
Okay,
God.
yeah, Missing Link, we can ignore that one, I think.
Yeah.
I like the art style though, and I like Justice in it,
Look,
but like
it's
everything
cool.
else is a mess.
I don't like playing it.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I don't know that the whole animation aspect and art direction of Guilty Gear is like a big draw.
I think it's so clear that they put all of their effort into Bedman and Delilah, especially like how many parts of them move and what they can do. Like, it was very clear to me that Daisuke heavily prefers and like Delilah, not as in like over Romeo, but I mean like over the cast. Like that Delilah is one of his favorite characters.
Yeah,
And
you can tell from like the anniversary videos. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
In the anniversary videos, they were so excited about her.
I'm excited about
they were
her.
like, I'm so glad that people connected with this character. They were all very excited about working on her, about how she was set up before. Almost to the same level as Asuka. Fucking Asuka. You know?
I know, like, it shows you how much that, like, the Bed Sims are really important characters to Daisuke, even if they aren't completely important characters to, like, the competitive scene.
Yeah, they feel like, oh, this is a character I've had for so long. I love them. I don't know. It's just every time I hear about like the behind the scene, it's like, oh yeah, it is just someone playing with their OCs.
Yeah.
It is, like, I think there's an old interview someone dug up, where it was like, Daisuke one day was just like, what if a bed was a weapon? And then that's how this became everything else. And I cannot believe I am so attached to, like, a group of characters based solely off the idea of, oh, what if my bed attacked me?
God, it's so cool too from like a I remember when they first revealed, like, Bedman, right? And he's like, oh, some dude's strapped to the bed. I wish I could just fight strapped to a bed, you know? Sometimes my back hurts a lot. I need it. It's a little
Don't we
thing,
all?
but...
As fighting game players, all of our backs are killing us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also just bone issues I have outside of it. That's like, ugh. I guess it is a
me too.
little thing to touch on. That's like the disabled character, right?
Oh yeah.
Because in Guilty Gear you have like a lot of variety in that level. Like Baiken, for example, you have like
Yeah, that's one
a
of
lot of
It's
physical
really-
disability.
It's
And-
really interesting to me that Daisuke actually had a huge interview about Baiken and specifically disability representation, and he said it was he would not release Baiken unless she could be disabled, and that a lot of the marketers at the time for just Missing Link were saying, hey, this is not a good idea, you really should not have a disabled female character, we want her to be there for sex appeal, don't do this. And so he made a workaround where she's got the really long sleeves, and she's got things like her bangs are covering up her eye, but she is missing the arm, she is missing the eye. But
Which is
then
like...
he goes on to say that this is a cool design choice that he chose in the end because it shows that, like, disability is just a normal part for Baiken. This isn't, like, a special part of her life. She's still treating her life as normal, and that she's, like, still has the same amount of power and gusto as anyone else, even though she is missing more parts than other people.
Yeah,
and that
and
it gives her a confidence.
Yeah, I think it's so weird too because it's like she's just missing an arm and an eye. Also, she looks cool with this car. Like, what's the huge problem?
My character is stuck on the floor, and I can't get my little blue Pikmin to stand up.
No, I almost stuck.
Me too, buddy.
Thank
yeah,
you,
with
Daisuke, for your wonderful lobby system.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
the disabled characters, right? And you have like autism as sort of a disability here. With their powers are like, I think it's not that subtle.
Oh
right?
my god, wait, you're
How
kind of a genius. I
their
didn't even
power
realize
works.
that when you consider it, Delilah being with Baiken is two disabled characters finding solace with each other and finding love and community with each other. And no other character in this series has a disability, so that's probably why he picked these two to connect. And besides their shared history and shared hatred of Happy Chaos, like, that's kind of
Oh,
cool.
Happy Chaos. Such a character.
Imagine getting mad at a guy named Happy Chaos. That's Delilah's life.
Oh yeah.
I think that's why he calls himself that. It's like, who could be mad at that, right?
Really just trying to convince you he's just a little guy somehow.
He's just a fella. Don't worry about him.
One last thing, I guess, before the podcast ends. There's a really cool theory that I made relating to Delilah and her past, and it's something that a lot of people overlook. And it's that when Remlethal sees her in another story, she says, Delilah, she's even stronger than she was in the cradle. Which means to me that the Conclave's big secret weapon that allows them to teleport anywhere and that they were proud of and were developing, Delilah was in that and Delilah was powering it. Like, she was the secret weapon. I wonder if, like, Romeo even knew
like
that, or if he wanted to save her, or like... And it makes sense too, because Romeo has the power of teleportation, and Delilah, her big thing in another story was that she was going to teleport everyone. So...
Yeah.
I think that's kind of sad that she was used in, like, human experimentation then. But I can understand why Romeo wanted to save her then.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I didn't think of it that
No,
way.
you're
but now
right.
you're saying that.
Yeah, never
The
thought
cradle.
about them.
I even rewatched that a lot, and I'm like, huh, she does mention the cradle. I never, like, processed
Yeah, no, me
it.
either. I never processed that.
Same.
The thing is too, like, a big thing for Bedman is, it's never said, but it's very implied by his design and everything, that he is a victim of, like, human experimentation. He's nailed to his bed, everything's a robot around him, and he's in this coma that he can't escape. and he says that Delilah's in this coma as well, and it made me wonder, like, okay, well, what is it that what harmed him so much that he wanted to escape? And to me, it's reading that, like, oh, his more powerful sister was used as a living weapon.
Yeah, that's a bit of a motivator.
Yeah.
I think. A little bit.
I don't know. She's like a good motivation to me. I don't know.
If Delilah ever got one of those cool little title things that, like, you know how Bedman is fighting heedless of its own destruction, I hope, like, Delilah's is something like the living weapon or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of cool.
It needs to be longer and more exaggerated, but yeah.
I don't know if I have...
The
Sorry, I
frightful
think about
living
the
weapon.
titles. Yeah, I think of the titles a lot. They're kind of funny, but also, like...
They're really cool. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's it for the podcast. Unless you guys have any final things to say.
Oh, God.
I don't have too much.
I haven't been able to work into anything. I just wanted to point out the whole how she refers to the bed in another story versus arcade, because she calls the bed brother, and in the arcade she refers to it as it's my brother's. I don't know what to do with that yet.
So she's
But that
shifted
difference should be
possession then.
key. Yeah, because it's like she talks to him like it's her brother in the story itself, right? She's like, "Oh, brother," and when it's like Ramathal's about to break it, she's like, "Oh, don't break it. It's my brother's."
I think it's that she doesn't fully know what to call it herself either, so she's switching it up and trying to process it herself. Even
And
by
that
just telling
adds-
her, like, hey, this is something you have to do on your own. You have to process it on your own. I
God,
will
that's
make
so
this
cool.
decision for you, which is really cool, yeah?
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of adds a little to my theory of it being part, like biologically part Romeo. Because she's like, she can see some of it in him, but it's not him. Okay, that's it.
My last thing was just a reminder to say thank you to Kit. Shout outs for making Waddle Delilah for D.
Yeah.
The color that is being used right now is on my color too, and Renkai Kit on Twitter and also on Tumblr, who is responsible for so many incredible Asuka mods, created this very nice Waddle Delilah for me because I think Delilah would like Waddle D's, and also her name is Delilah, so I was like, that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
I like the DDD pattern goes very well on the bed. I like the triangles on it.
Yeah.
Please be sure to check out Kit on Twitter. He's extremely talented, and he has a lot of good Asuka thoughts as well, so.
Yeah.
But that's it for me.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Nate, Delilah, you got anything?
I don't have anything else to say. I pretty much gotta do.
It's 1 a.m. So I'm really sleepy right now.
Alright, well, thank you all for coming onto my podcast. It was an absolute delight to talk to you about probably my favorite character ever, or one of. And I really like talking to you guys a lot, and it's clear that she means a lot to you, and she means a lot to me as well. So, I hope you guys all have a good night. Bye!
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Down,